Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Miami Herald's Dolphins In Depth podcast. I'm your host, Omar Kelly, here brought to you with Barry Jackson, fresh off the practice field, Barry. It was a hot, humid one. In fact, the team actually went inside the bubble to finish off some practices. It was mostly walkthroughs and plays they didn't want the fans and the general public to see. But the action was a little entertaining today. I think I saw some things. Tyreek showed 50 minutes into practice and caught a deep ball from Mike White, as he normally does. Saw a good run after catch, end around to Jonnu Smith. I actually saw that play on social media channels. I did not retweet it because a fan took it, and I think that that's a play that the Dolphins would love to surprise a team with. Unfortunately, if a fan puts out video of it, then there goes your element of surprise. But it was really productive and showed me the wheels that Jonnu Smith has. He's really got some skills like a running back.
Yes, he's really been dynamic these last few days. We all know about the yak, best in yak among all tight ends over the last 5 years, but we've seen running plays develop where he can turn it on, as you said. And how about Mike White saying, don't even mention the words Ryan Tannehill around me. I don't want to hear those words. He didn't actually say that. But his reaction today was such because I guess Mike White can make the point, look, you surround me with the type of talent that you surround Tua with, and I can be a productive NFL player. Look at me. I just threw 42 yards to Tyreek Hill. So Mike White was competent today, but Skyler appears to be getting a real chance to win this job. Skyler looked good today. The worst quarterback of the three today was Tua. Obviously, no conclusion to be drawn from that. Tua is your best quarterback.
How dare you, Barry? How dare you? What are you talking about?
How dare I say that? Yeah, Tua had a couple of passes that could have been intercepted, and then he had one that was intercepted on a tip ball by Saran Neal that Marcus May held on to. So White with some encouraging moments today, but to me, Skyler's still been the better of the backups, and my hunch is that he's getting serious consideration for the number 2 job, more so than last year. Does your gut tell you that?
I have seen this so often, and I'm still in the I don't believe it's a competition phase, because I felt like last year Skyler had outperformed him, and then we get to the decision-making process and Mike White's the backup until I don't know what it will take me to believe that Skyler, because Skyler has taken the majority of the work the last 2 days. And I don't know if that's just a byproduct of they want Skyler to get the majority of work because he's played in less games, or they feel like Mike White really doesn't have that much to show and Skyler needs the continuity. I don't really know what's going on with this quarterback battle, but I also don't believe it's a battle.
Yeah, well, I'm on the side of I would at least call Tannehill, see where his head is at, bring him in quietly. I guess you have to report it on the league wire, but just have a meeting with him. And I don't see the harm in that. Just see if he's ambulatory, how much he still has if you put him out on the field, if he's willing to work out for you. Just to cover yourself in case Mike White is dismal, and in case Skyler's dismal over the next week and a half. I don't want to be in a position then where I'm scrambling. I want to know if Tannehill is interested, available, ambulatory, and still has a skill set in his mid-30s to be a competent number 2 quarterback.
And here's my response. I get you, and I think there's no harm in making a call. One, if something happens to Tua, we're flushing the season, all of it, anyway, no matter what.
Right.
And whether Ryan Tannehill is here or not, we're still flushing the season. Don't you remember the Jay Cutler year where Jay Cutler knew the offense?
Yes.
And then I just don't believe that that Ryan Tannehill fits in this offense. This offense is about precision passing. It's about precision throwing. It's about timing. Yes, you can simplify and make some of this play action rollout kind of situation, but behind this offensive line, oh my God, Tannehill might get 60 sacks. It's just a situation where I don't want to go through that PTSD situation again. Also, when there are teams like the Minnesota Vikings that are having real quarterback situations or real quarterback issues, think about Joe Flacco.
Where he ended the year, JJ McCarthy, the rookie.
Yeah. Think about Joe Flacco's situation where he ends the year, goes from unemployment to ending the year as a starting quarterback for a playoff team, wins. If I'm Tannehill, I'm waiting for that. I'm not waiting to come here and be a clipboard holder for Tua Tagovailoa for my old franchise. Yes, it would make a great story, supposedly, but Yeah, I'm also not coming here to answer questions from media members who thinks my career was mediocre while I'm here. So, and I
Yeah,
don't think
exactly.
paid over $100 million. I don't think he's interested in cashing just a check. Just my
Yeah, I
personal.
agree with that. He's being selective. He said on a podcast that he's waiting for the right opportunity. He doesn't feel a need to have to go get a job now. He's earned enough money. So the big news today happened before practice, where Teair Tart, whose signing had really excited me back in the spring. I thought, okay, here's a guy who can legitimately replace Raekwon Davis. He's a guy who had some good moments in Tennessee before his falling out with Mike Vrabel last year. He was cut today, shown the door. And you made an excellent point that this is proof that guys can't lollygag. Guys have to give full effort. It was perhaps as much a statement as anything.
Yeah.
Because of injury, clear-cut starter, he would have been probably anyway.
He wasn't winning the starting job. And in fact, I think Brandon Peely was starting to move ahead of him yesterday, since he's gone now. Yesterday, I watched him work as a 3-4 end, and it was okay. But I think that the GPS trackers that they have on players that basically tell you how hard guys are working, how much they're running, how much effort they're putting in, because these teams have all kinds of trackers on these players. It was kind of showing that Teair Tart wasn't really giving maximum effort. And when I'm sorry, when you already run a light camp, do you need somebody whose foot is always off the gas? Like, if you're going to run a light camp, and Mike McDaniels has acknowledged, I run a light camp because I want to maximize the abilities and health of my players. Okay, so if you do run a light camp, at least you should have guys who are workers. Teair Tart, unfortunately, and I don't know him, and I never got a chance to speak to him. I don't know why I never got a chance to speak to him. I'm sure that was partly my fault, because I could ask for him any day that I wanted to. He wasn't a hard worker. And I think this was done to set an example, because it made no sense. It doesn't have a corresponding roster move. It's not a money need. You cut him. You're probably hoping some other team that's desperate for defensive tackle picks him up. So you don't have to pay the $400,000 in guaranteed money. Why do it today? Why not even go through today? Brandon Peely suffered a minor back injury. Luckily, he was fortunate enough to go back in the game. So what happens if Brandon Peely wasn't fortunate enough to go back in the game? What happens if you sidelined for a month? What are you doing? Calling Teair Tart? Yo, Teair, I know we released you on Tuesday, but holler back at me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, like they did Jason Hine.
Yeah, I agree with you. There was a statement, because they did it when Benito Jones was injured. So it's not like Benito Jones is here practicing healthy every day. So Peely now has the opportunity of a lifetime to win the backup nose job. If he doesn't, Isaiah Mack can play there. That's certainly an option. He's had a good camp. Jonathan Harris, who isn't really a nose, I think, in this Anthony Weaver defense, he can play inside. He had a sack today. And then you made a good point to me, Omar, at practice. Calais Campbell historically has been able to slide inside, so you can move him inside on passing downs. And also remember, Anthony Weaver does not often use three defensive tackles at once. Last year, there were 7 games under Vic Fangio where Raekwon Davis, Christian Wilkins, and Zach Sealer all started, the 3 of them. But I think for the most part, you're going to see 2 down linemen playing in this Weaver defense, and that will usually be Calais Campbell and Zach Sealer. The question is, who else can you get reliable snaps from as your 3rd, 4th, and 5th guys? I would say Benito Jones is one of them.
Deshaun Hand is my 3rd.
You're a big Deshaun Hand fan.
I am.
Yes. Yeah,
I am.
I would say
nothing against Neville Gallimore or Jonathan Harris. And Jonathan Harris, he's a bigger figure than I thought. But we're 3 weeks into training camp, and I haven't really noticed him that much. But I think they're okay at defensive line. And today was the first day that Calais Campbell worked back-to-back days. He's usually a 37-year-old. He's an every day off, 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off guy. He worked back-to-back days today. I don't know if that was a byproduct of Teair Tart going down and him needing to do some work on the interior, but we'll see. I don't expect Calais to work 3 straight days, though. I think he'll probably take tomorrow off and then gear up to joint practices against the Washington Commanders. But the release makes one of the situations on the depth chart a little bit more murky. However, there are so many other murky situations on the depth chart. And one of those happened to be at wide receiver, where we all know the top two in terms of Tyreek Hill, who shows up for 50 minutes in practice and roasts somebody daily. And as I always say, life is not fair. So these are the things that you know Tyreek's going to come from the air-conditioned building, rested, and whatever he's doing on the inside, he's going to show up for 11-on-11s, and you're toast, no matter who you are. And we know where Jalen Waddle stands. He's been sidelined. This is going to be beginning week number 2 that he's going to be sidelined.
He's 5 practices, and McDaniel said it's minor, but he's still not out there. And one thing I find interesting, we're going to get to Odell in a second because there's interesting stuff with that. One thing I find interesting is Willie Snead, who keeps dropping a lot of passes, is still 3rd team on the depth chart, ahead of Malik Washington, ahead of Braylon Sanders. I know Sanders. Do you believe the depth chart, Barry? I can't believe the depth chart. Now, a lot of it's been accurate this year, more so than past years. What's clear is that Berrios and Craycraft, in whatever order, are your 4 and 5 once Beckham is back. I think Malik Washington very, very likely makes the team as your 6th, but there was a wild card today. There was an Eric Ezukanma sighting. Everybody can get excited. He actually caught a TD pass in the red zone. So the Ezukanma-Malik Washington battle for the 6th receiver job, to me, is under the radar fascinating because I just don't see him cutting Malik Washington, but I don't see you giving up on Ezukanma yet. I guess if they do, it won't be shocking. It'll be a little bit surprising and disappointing to me, but I have to see more there. I want to see more.
I am not, this is a secret, Barry, so don't share it with anybody, okay? I am not as high on Malik Washington as most members of the media is or continues to be, or I just don't see dynamic traits there. Whereas with Ezukanma, we haven't seen it on the field, but he's massive. He's big, and you need that size. He's big, he's athletic, he's fast. You can't overlook that. So Ezukanma's a superior athlete to Malik Washington. So I can't just overlook that. I don't know how this is going to play out, but one of the factors that could impact how it plays out is Odell Beckham Jr. And what is his status with this team? We saw Odell Beckham today. He's training, he's running, he's rehabbing. They were timing him in his 10-yard sprints. I guess that's an indicator of whether or not he's going to be close to getting to practice. I'm not sure we see Odell Beckham at all this training camp. I'm not sure we see Odell Beckham begin the season on the 53-man roster. And here's the reason why. Because Tua openly acknowledges and admits that he has not been able to gain chemistry with Odell Beckham Jr.
For me, at least, as a quarterback, to be able to create chemistry with someone, I got to see how they run routes. I got to see how they are on their breaks. Okay, this guy, I can't really zip the ball. I got to layer it a little because when he breaks out of his route, it's not as fast as it is with Tyreek's or Jalen on his out routes. Maybe, it's not as fast as it is with Tyreek's. Maybe sometimes you do have to layer in. You just got to know the personnel in that aspect. And then with the footwork that we have for different in-breaking routes, the timing of that as well for those guys. And, are they guys that like to turn their body to get in the front of the ball, or are they guys that love to run through the ball? And so that has a lot to do with ball placement and whatnot, and building chemistry with those guys in this offense.
Avery Brewer's now going to miss some time. How key was the time that you did have with him, and how key will it be now not having some time with him before the regular season starts?
It was very key having Brew. We were just getting into a good rhythm. Unfortunately, that's what he's dealing with now. But I've had Liam the entire last year, so I have the utmost faith and confidence that we'll be able to get back to doing what we need to do.
Yeah, that was Tua Tagovailoa addressing the Odell Beckham. They haven't run any routes together, and I'm not of the opinion that he could show up the week of the regular season and there's magic there. So I'm at the point, Barry, where I'm pretty confident that he's going to begin the year on the PUP, and then he's going to have 4 weeks to get his situation situated. And then we'll see how much he can impact the team. And until then, we're riding the Jonnu Smith, Braxton Berrios, River Craycraft train.
Yeah, it's disconcerting because we got the impression that it wasn't anything serious. We do see him running. So why he hasn't been able to take the next step, or why the Dolphins don't want him to, is somewhat puzzling. But today was the first day the two actually said, the only thing I've done with him is stationary catching. And, of course, very little is going to be accomplished by that if you're not having a receiver run NFL routes. And then Tua mentioned the complexity of this offense and said it's not easy. So I'm like you. I'm wondering if you're going to get much of anything from Odell in September. And if that's the case, then you're in the same position you were last year, where you don't have a reliable number 3. Last year, obviously, Cedric Wilson made some plays, but there was an issue with getting separation, your number 3, number 4, number 5 receivers from other corners. Now, the good news is Craycraft's had a good camp. He appears to be a better player. He's always been underappreciated. I think he's even a little better now. Barrios is competent. But who is your third receiver who's going to take pressure off of Tyreek and Jalen if they get blanketed with 2 high safeties? I guess Jonnu Smith would probably be the guy, or one of the running backs, right?
It to me, it's no question it's Jonnu Smith. He has been on an every other day program, and now he's working more consistently. I can see more of what he brings to the table. I'm intrigued. There's a lot of run after catch ability. There's a lot of ball carrying ability. There's a lot of do some damage on screen pass ability. I know who Jonnu Smith is from his time in the NFL and from his FIU days. Right now, I'm actually becoming a believer in Jonnu Smith, and I think he is the 3rd best receiver on this team. But Tua Tagovailoa did address the fact that Aaron Brewer is probably going to be sidelined for the rest of the exhibition season, and hopefully his hand injury is healthy enough for him to play in the season opener. But right now, as it stands, drum roll please, your starting center for the Miami Dolphins, Liam Eichenberg. And here's Liam addressing him having to play a position that he's not very fond of, but he knows he has to do.
We see back at center now. Mike had said he wanted to get you to work at right guard. Is it setback's not the right word, but a challenge to have all that work at right guard now? How you're sliding over?
I mean, honestly, it's not a big deal. I can play center, play guard, so this is what the team needs, and I'm here to help the team win. So, I honestly, nothing's really changed for me. I'm coming out here trying to get better, trying to improve on where I'm at. So, at center now, and my boy Brew, he kind of messed his hand up a little bit, but he'll be back soon. So, just kind of working every day. Working at center.
Sorry about that. Have you made progress at right guard?
I thought I was doing well. Coming off the ball, I thought everything in the pass game was getting better, and I'm just kind of trusting the technique and fundamentals that Butch has coached us. So I think compared to last year, my play at right guard has improved a lot. But I'm at center now, and I'm focused on that.
How much easier have the line calls become for you?
Yeah, I think once you play center, mainly college and mainly, I would say mostly in the NFL, I think it clears up everything in regards to the offense. So, I'm out there even when I'm at guard, and I'm kind of not helping Brewer, but I'm just kind of pointing it as if I'm the center, knowing where he's going and where we're working. So makes everything quicker, kind of not relying on somebody to point it for you. Other guys out there, not in our line, but other teams in the NFL, they kind of rely just on the center. So it's, it's great kind of having that knowledge.
Liam, I'm sorry if you've been asked this, but besides not wanting to see a teammate go down like Brewer, was it dispiriting to have to move back to center knowing that ideally you'd be at one position, you'd be competing at right guard, you had a good chance to be a starter there? Is it dispiriting in that way?
No, I don't think so. I think, there's stuff at center that's helped me improve at guard. So having me move back into center has helped me kind of get my hands going quicker. And whenever I do go back to guard, I think it'll help me in the long run. So I don't think so. At the end of the day, I want to be out there. I want to help this team win. And, if they need me to play center or guard or wherever, I'll do it.
Yeah, see Barry trying to trick up Liam with the word dispirited. I was like, man, Barry, Liam would have said, I don't even know what dispirited means.
Exactly. It has to be, though, a little bit to him, because all the man wants is an opportunity to start at right guard. He told me a couple of weeks ago, this is my best long-term NFL position. My best chance of success is being at right guard. And here they're dangling it. But then Aaron Brewer goes down. He's got to shift over to center. So I don't want to say I feel bad for Liam, but he does have kind of tough luck. Eventually, he's going to get a chance at right guard.
Don't feel bad don't feel bad for Liam, because as much as Liam hates having to play center, he's actually good at it.
Yes.
When you take out the Buffalo game and you take out the game where he's playing on one leg, he's actually good at it. He makes the line calls. You never have a snapping issue. And Barry, let me tell you a little secret. Let's just say that Liam Eichenberg is not up to snuff to be a starting right guard in the NFL. Then what do you think the rest of the NFL teams are going to do with him? They're going to make him a center, right? Liam could probably have a 10-year career in the NFL as a center. And, you know, it's either 10-year center or journeyman offensive guard. Which one do you think is in more demand?
Yeah, that's a great question. He's taken his career beyond where Michael Dieter did, because Dieter had the same opportunity to be a swing guard and center, and he couldn't really pull it off as a third-round pick. Now, Liam, obviously, is a second-round pick. He's got a chance this year in a contract year to forge a role and make himself some money. If he can ace playing center when Brewer's out, and hopefully Brewer will be back in week 1, and if he can ace playing right guard. The question is, will Lester Cotton play well enough at right guard over the next 3 weeks where he fends off Liam at right guard once Brewer's back at center? That remains to be seen. But again, Dolphins are riding with this interior line, you know, for better or worse. These are the guys they've committed to. If it's going to either work or they're going to realize at some point in week 3 or 4 that they need augmentation.
Yeah, I'm fine. I initially was in a panic state. As you know, Barry, anything goes wrong with the offensive line, I initially hit the panic button. I am fine with Jack Driscoll as the right guard. I'm no offense to Lester Cotton. I need to see more. And I don't want to give you these I don't throw charity praise out there. And I'm sorry. I feel like that's what Mike McDaniels has been giving Lester. I'm not sure Lester deserves to be on the 53. And I you know, this is a real conversation here. Show me that play against Washington Commanders in the preseason game. Show me that play during the joint practice. Show me that play in Tampa. And then I'll change my tune. But Lester right now, it doesn't cut it for me. But now he's first in line. Notice, and this is why I say don't you pay attention to the depth chart, Barry. Last week, who was ahead of Lester Cotton on the depth chart? Jack Driscoll, right? Plays
That's
well in
true.
the game.
That didn't mean a lot.
It plays well in the game, backup center. Then all of a sudden this week, now he's the third team right guard. Come on, Barry. Who are you fooling?
Come on, man. Now, Sean Harlow, I wouldn't ignore Sean Harlow. He's a competent, serviceable journeyman. Maybe he makes a case to make the team, so he's out there too. Unfortunately, I don't have high expectations for Ryan Hayes. As you noted today, they've taken a look at him at guard. I just don't think it's going to work with him. Unfortunately, he's a try-hard kid from a Power 5 established program, Michigan. It just hasn't worked out for him. Hopefully, he'll be able to forge an NFL career somewhere. But your expectations with a 7th rounder aren't high to begin with.
Yeah. Hayes at guard, no, not for me. Just a little bit too long and lumbering. He looks like a tackle trying to play guard, which is probably one of the reasons Kendall Lamb is like, me play guard? Not gonna happen. Let's address one of it's out of the question. Let's address, because Dolphin fans have always wondered, well, why can't Kendall Lamb go in at guard? Because Kendall Lamb says,
exactly, your 5 best on the field. It's not that simple, guys.
Yeah, it's not that simple, and Patrick Paul cannot play guard either. Hey, let me do this with you, Barry. I'm writing a piece for the Miami Herald on the Bubble Boys, the guys where, I mean, they got 2 weeks to make this team or to not make this team. And these are some tough decisions that are going to be needed to be made from the Miami Dolphins standpoint. Let's start with running. Well, we know the quarterback situation. 1 will likely be on the 53, maybe 2. I don't see where there's room for 2. Now, I do see where there's potentially
no room for 3, you mean?
Yeah, no room for 3. I'm talking about 2 as a backup. I do see where potential for 2 as a backup if you released maybe Skyler and then you held on to Skyler on the initial 53, then released him maybe a day later when you claimed somebody and got somebody, and then tried to put him on the practice squad when another team has already claimed some other quarterback. One way or the other, I'm not shedding a tear whether Mike White or Skylar Thompson aren't here. And in fact, I'm claiming somebody else's young quarterback and starting fresh because I just need to see more. But let's get to the running back situation. Jeff Wilson, he's been sidelined for the past 2 days. It seems like there's some sort of nose issue that came from the Atlanta Falcons game. Salvon Ahmed out of a boot, actually practicing. Dolphin fans got on me in the comments section, Barry, because I just said taking Salvon off PUP was just dumb to begin with. And here we are again. He's back in the action. Salvon is actually one of my favorite players. And here's why I'm going to say this. Dolphin fans are all excited about what they saw from Jalen Wright in the first preseason game. Do you know what Salvon Ahmed's average was last year in the preseason? It was like 9.8 yards per carry. He was balling in the preseason. I know he earned the number 3 role. I think it was number 2 role behind Raheem.
Yes, right. Behind, he was in front of Wilson for a time. He was in front of
he was in front of Wilson. He was ahead of Devon Achane until he got injured, and then when he got injured, Achane came on, and then it was over. Then there's Chris Brooks. Come on, Barry. How many running backs are we realistically going to keep here?
I don't want to give up on Chris Brooks. I'm telling you, there's something there. Now, I'm a fan of Ahmed, too. I like the special teams value. He knows the system. He's trustworthy. I just think there's a higher ceiling with Chris Brooks. So, to me, you keep Chris Brooks as your number 5 unless he's bad the next 2.5 weeks. Ahmed, who knows? Another team probably would claim him. That would be the way I'd be leaning. I don't think Jeff Wilson's in trouble just because, remember, he adjusted his contract down to close to minimum. So I think he's safe, but he might miss some time with the nose. So, to me, Brooks stays as the 5. Ahmed is first to go. But I don't feel totally married to that idea. I could be talked out of it, and I think you're going to talk me out of it, or at least try to.
Here's the thing. I'm sorry, but if somebody claims Chris Brooks, I'm not shedding a tear, and I'll probably get another run at him at some point eventually. Chris Brooks hasn't done enough to make a team say, oh, man, we got to go get that guy. And he doesn't have a college resume, and this is no shade directed to him. I like him. I think he's a good back. What you know about Salvon Ahmed is there's an obsession and a fascination from this coaching staff, and they don't want to let it go. And if something happens to Raheem or Devon, I think Salvon is the only guy that can actually, well, maybe Jalen right now, but in terms of keeping the offense as consistent as it has been, at least that's always been what's kept him around. Now, if I were the Dolphins, I'd run him into the ground again, see what happens to that foot, and then maybe I put him on IR. Just thinking out loud. It's, you know, and then maybe when I need to take him out of the bubble wrap, I take him out of the bubble wrap. I don't want to lose Salvon Ahmed. And I would rather keep Salvon Ahmed over Chris Brooks. But then again, I do see the intrigue for Chris Brooks. Let's get to wide receiver. There's a whole lot of bodies there, that I don't even want to mention. We know who the top 5 are. There are Braylon Sanders, Eric Uzukama, Malik Washington, Anthony Schwartz, all realistically competing for that 6th spot, and that there's no guarantee that the Dolphins are going to keep 6. Now, with Odell Beckham maybe beginning the year on PUP, maybe it makes it easier for you to keep 6. How do you handle that situation, Barry?
I think if Beckham starts the year on PUP, it buys you time with Ezukama. Then I see Ezukama and Malik Washington both staying, them keeping 6. That would be my prediction. It's just a prediction. It's not anything based on inside information. But I think you need to buy time with Ezukama. I'm not ready to give up on him. I'm certainly not cutting Malik Washington after drafting him this year. He deserves a more extensive look. So the problem would be, and I guess it wouldn't be a problem that you need Odell this season, but if Odell is in fact ready for the regular season opener, then how do you solve the problem of having 7 receivers if you have Ezukama and Malik Washington? That gives you 7. 7's too many. So to me, that's where the dilemma is. I know you're not a Malik fan, as you've reiterated today. Would you keep Ezukama as a 6th if Odell begins the year healthy on the 53?
I'm not scared to lose Malik Washington. If somebody claims him, so they claim him. And I'm pretty sure I'll get another go around at him again when that team that claims him we're sitting here pretending as if this guy is out here just making killer plays, and that's not the case.
Right. He had the one end around Friday that was good. He'd probably be an effective backup returner behind Berrios. He'd probably be effective in the slot. But if you're going down that far on the depth chart, I mean, it wouldn't be a good sign. I was going to tell you what's funny about the tight end battle is it's been put on pause. The battle for the number 4 tight end job between Fortson and Tanner Connor has been temporarily interrupted by other programming. Neither player is playing at the moment. Connor appears to have a rib issue. Fortson's missed time with a stinger. Both are out. We know Julian Hill's the number 3. So to me, the number 4 question is either one of those two guys or they find someone on the waiver wire. I know you prefer Tanner Connor based on his camp this year. I think Connor's won the job to this point, but both guys have to be healthy. We need to see more of both, I think.
Do we? I think we got a solid 3. What do we need a 4th for? One of them stays on the practice squad. The other guy, totaloo. I don't see the need. I mean, you have a solid threesome where all of those guys can start for you, can contribute on special teams. I'm Tanner Connor has more value to me, but I feel like I could develop him on the practice squad for another season. And Barry, here's my little secret, and this is a point where I've come to. I don't know what point in my career I came to it. Like week 12, if they claim somebody you cut, they claimed him. Oh well, like you know. Right. Think about and I got to this point by thinking to myself, who is the most talented guy the Dolphins cut and just couldn't really just see future with? And somebody else takes him, claims him, and just blows him up, and he becomes a very core player. I mean, Vince Beagle?
Yeah, I mean, really? Go back years with Rob Ninkovich. I mean, we're going back a long time. If there's someone else of recent vintage, I can't remember who it would be who just blossomed elsewhere.
We're talking about Rob Ninkovich's, AJ Francis's.
Yeah,
it's like if you cut them and they go on. Okay,
that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, and you can get away with 3 tight ends. They're going to play more 12 personnel this year, the 2 tight end sets, than they did last year because you have John Smith to join Durham Smythe. So because you're going to play more than you did last year when you were among the lowest teams in the year in 12 personnel usage, I think that could create a case for 4th tight end, but it's not clear cut. So I agree. They probably could go with 3 and be fine with it.
Yeah, I think obviously we addressed the defensive line situation. That leaves it a little bit murky, especially with Tier Tart coming out of the equation. That leaves one open spot for somebody who wants it. Linebackers a little bit murky because of a lot of injuries in the unit. That's really opening the door for Channing Tindall to showcase himself and cement himself. Also, Ezekiel Vanderberg or Bach or whatever his name is. He's actually showed up, and I actually like what I've seen from him. But let's talk a little bit about the safety position, because right now you've got Jordan Poyer and Javon Holland not working. So this is week 2 that they're both not working. You're going to get
Poyer has a thumb.
Poyer has a thumb. We don't know what the Holland issue is. You're going to get an opportunity to showcase yourself if you're there. Marcus May made an interception today. It was a nice play, a guy who has made 77 starts in the NFL should be making, and that's the way I expected him to be performing at this point in the season. We know Elijah Campbell is pretty much the number 3. He's one of your top gunners. He's a staple on special teams. So he's locked. Now the question is, do you go Marcus May? Do you go Patrick McMorris? Or do you go Nick Needham?
What a tough call. McMorris made another play today. I like Needham's value because he can play corner too. I think his experience should not be undervalued. To me, this is the toughest position on the team. I think May needs to continue playing well over the next week and a half. May has actually helped if they have health concerns with the veteran starters, because then you feel the comfort level mentally of having a veteran behind them. It would not surprise me if they keep 5 safeties, which I know is an awfully high number. But it would not surprise me if they keep McMorris and May and Campbell, count Needham as a corner. So then, in essence, you're keeping 6 safeties. But to me, this is the toughest call on the roster because you've got good depth at that position. I'm not sure what I would do, Omar. I need to see these next weeks.
Absolutely. And here we got Marcus May. He's addressing the fact that, it's taken me a little bit of a minute to learn Anthony Weaver's defense. You played in so many different schemes. Obviously, how challenging is this one to learn, or is it just another?
No, I mean, it's definitely challenging because we do a lot of different things like that. But, that's the good thing about it. You go home, learn from it, study it, go out to the field, practice it. So it's all about repetition, communication, and things like that. So, once you pick up on a few things and you're able to see, start playing fast. So
I want to ask you this question. I've never seen many players have started every single game that they played in the league, but you have.
Right.
What do you think allowed you to put yourself in that position?
Just the love of the game, studying the game, taking care of your body, trying to, just go out there and perform the best of your ability. I've been blessed to be able to do that. Dealt with some injuries here and there, but for the most part, everything has been pretty good.
How do you feel like you performed this camp?
So far, so good. I mean, everything's a learning curve. So, the past 2 weeks, like I said, just been trying to learn and adjust on the fly. So I think I've been doing a pretty good job so far.
What's Jordan Poyer been like in the locker room? We know we haven't seen him in a few practices.
No, I mean, Jordan's been around this league for a long time, so he understands, the ins and outs of this game. So just, being on the same side as him now, get to pick his brain, hear him talk ball and things like that. So, it's definitely good to be able to, be on the same side as him.
With the interception today, getting those reps with the starters, how valuable is that in terms of your growth and development?
It's definitely because you gotta play up to their level. They have a standard here. So, coming in, stepping out there on the grass with them, you got to be up to speed with them. Communication got to be on point. So, you can't let off. You can't let off the gas when you're out there with those guys. So.
Yeah, we're talking about the safeties, and that's pretty much, I would say, the fiercest position battle. The safeties, the cornerbacks. I mean, hell, is one of these rookie cornerbacks going to make this 53-man roster? I don't know.
Huge couple of weeks for Isaiah Johnson, Jason Maitre, and Storm Duck. All have made their case to an extent. One needs to stand out. Couple quick developments at corner. Ethan Bonner's been out with concussion symptoms. They're not certain if it's a concussion, but it's been symptoms, so they're being cautious with him. That's given an opportunity to Cam Smith. He's back. He's missed most of the past 2.5 weeks. We saw him out there today. We know he's got skills as a second-round pick. We know he's a ball hawk. Can he put it together and wrest that top boundary corner job from Ethan Bonner while Ethan Bonner's head heals? That is the question, to me, one of the more interesting questions of this preseason game against Washington on Saturday.
Absolutely. He's probably the guy who's all eyes are going to be on. I watched him during practice today. Nothing of noteworthy, and when you're a cornerback, that's a good thing. So he wasn't getting roasted today, so that's a step in the right direction. On that note, you've been watching Dolphins in Depth. We appreciate you coming and joining us every single day. We will be back tomorrow with a Wednesday edition of What Happened in Dolphins World as the Dolphins practice tomorrow morning and then lead into Thursday's joint practice with the Washington Commanders. On that note, you're out.